Thank you so much for watching Backroads Tourist today. Your cruise buddy Jeff here. Lots of news to cover in the world of cruising, so let's get right to it. And then at the end, it's going to be your daily dose of Daisy, our 5-pound bipolar chihuahua. Well, there's a mixture of good news and bad news today, and we're going to start with something that's not good. After 5 onboard illness outbreaks were reported to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, or also known as the CDC, in January, the first outbreak of February has been confirmed on Royal Caribbean's Radiance of the Seas. The ship is wrapping up a 7-night Western Caribbean voyage, which began on February 1st from Tampa. The itinerary included stops in Cozumel, Roatan, Belize, and Costa Maya. Returned to Tampa today, Saturday, February 8th. Passengers booked on the next sailing, which will follow the same 7-night itinerary, have been informed that the ship will undergo cleaning and maintenance before departure. As a result, boarding is going to be delayed by an hour or two. Now, the notification email explained, quote, Radiance of the Seas will conduct a routine cleaning and maintenance before boarding. During this time, the terminal will be closed for embarkation, and we will experience delays in the boarding process. End quote. Though the email did not specify the cause of the illness outbreak, the CDC received a report stating that 89 out of the 2,164 guests on board the ship had reported symptoms. This accounts for 4.1% of the passengers, exceeding the 3% threshold that requires reporting. In addition, 2 out of the 910 crew members, which is 0.2%, have also reported similar symptoms. While Radiance of the Seas continued its cruise without any changes to the itinerary or delays, guests did notice operational changes intended to prevent the spread of illness. For instance, in the Windjammer Marketplace buffet, crew members were serving dishes instead of allowing passengers to serve themselves. Announcements were also made to remind passengers to wash their hands thoroughly, and crew members increased cleaning and sanitation procedures. Guests who reported symptoms were isolated in their staterooms, and specimens were collected for testing. The outbreak on board the Radiance of the Seas marks the 6th such event reported this year, not counting 3 earlier outbreaks from December that extended into January. Although Norovirus outbreaks are common and widespread, the number of reported outbreaks on cruise ships so early in the year is unusual. By comparison, only 3 outbreaks were reported during January and February of 2024, and 4 occurred in the first 2 months of 2023. Moving on to more unpleasant news, the Greek island of Santorini is arguably one of the most popular cruise destinations in the Mediterranean, but right now, a state of emergency has been issued on Santorini after hundreds or perhaps even thousands of earthquakes have shaken this resort island for the past week. The most powerful earthquake so far has registered 5.2 on the Richter scale. Right now, there are reports of minimal damage, and thousands of residents and seasonal workers have evacuated the island. Scientists can't predict what's going to happen, but there is a chance that this could have an impact on cruise tourism in Santorini if there's any significant damage to the island's infrastructure. In fact, Viking Cruises has already canceled some of their upcoming visits to Santorini. This is a very slow season for cruise tourism in the area, and hopefully things will settle down before the season picks up in the spring. So if you have plans to cruise the Mediterranean this year and your itinerary includes Santorini, don't be surprised if that destination gets altered. Daily Dose of Daisy coming up in just a few minutes. Stick around for that. And if you wouldn't mind clicking that like button, I sure would appreciate it. It helps get this video recommended to others. And by the way, this little channel is closing in on 9,000 subscribers. If you're one of them, I'd like to thank you for being a part of the Backroads Tourist channel. I appreciate you joining us. And if you're not a subscriber, well, you can fix that right now by clicking that subscribe button down there. It's fast, it's easy, it's free, and it helps make sure you don't miss any videos that are uploaded. I try to do that several times each week. Well, let's get to some good news. Big news is coming from Norwegian Cruise Lines. Norwegian has just finalized the contract to build 4 new ships, and these ships are going to be the largest ones in Norwegian's fleet. Each one is going to hold more than 5,000 guests, along with an unconfirmed number of crew members. Now, to put things in perspective, the largest ships that they have now hold between 4,000 and 4,300 guests. You can expect to see those ships hitting the water in 2030, 2032, 2034, and 2036. But you won't have to wait that long to enjoy that new ship smell on Norwegian. The Norwegian Aqua is set to debut in April of this year, and 3 other vessels are scheduled to launch through 2028. And speaking of Norwegian, they have a very special cruise coming up next year. Nate Bargatze is one of the hottest comedians in the United States right now, and just about 1 year from now, on February 9th of 2026, Nate is going to be the featured comedian on a special comedy cruise on the Norwegian Jewel. It's a 4-day cruise leaving from Tampa and going to Costamea, Mexico. It's being called Nateland at Sea, and is going to feature 3 live stand-up performances by Nate, live tapings of his Nateland podcast, and sets from other comedians too. There's also going to be a Super Bowl watch party, a Southern Spelling Bee, that should be interesting, and magic performances by Nate's father, Stephen Bargatze. Now, I predict that this cruise is going to be selling out fast. Pre-sale signups are open right now, with the first round closing on Sunday and the final round on February 16th. Public sales begin on February 19th at natelandatsea.com. My wife and I love Nate Bargatze. His humor is clean and his timing is excellent. We saw him probably about a year ago when he performed in a large arena, and then just this past week, we got to see him again in a local comedy club. He was there polishing some new material that he's going to be doing on his world tour coming out in March. So that was very cool to see him in such an intimate setting. Now, if you prefer music over comedy, Norwegian has you covered there too. Next month, the Norwegian Joy is home to the Monsters of Rock cruise, featuring rock and roll bands like Tesla, Night Ranger, Winger, and others. Then in August, the Norwegian Gem is going to play host to the On the Blues cruise, featuring performances from Alan Parsons, Al Stewart, and several other performers too. So what do you think? Would you be up for a themed cruise like this, or are you more than happy with the traditional cruise experience? Let me know about it in the comments section. Now, on a related note, I'd like to thank all of you who take the time and effort to leave your thoughts there. Very rarely do I delete any comments, unless, of course, they're vulgar or use certain words that are generally considered to be offensive. So keep it civil. That's all I ask. For those of you waiting for a video on my visit to the National Roller Skating Museum, I apologize for the delay. That's a lot of material that I have to go through there, and it's been a busy week anyway. But it's coming, though, I promise. And now it's time for your daily dose of Daisy. Every now and then our little girl gets a spa day, and on this particular occasion my wife decided that Daisy needed to get her nails painted, so here she is looking glamorous. Hey, thanks again for watching. I appreciate it, and I appreciate you. I'm Jeff, and I hope to see you on a future cruise.